So, first of all, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode on Maven Talks. This is episode number 18, and I am your host, Rakshit Kharbanda. I know 2021 is about to end in 2 weeks, but we can't forget the people we lost during pandemic, especially when COVID-19 was at its peak in May 2021, and the whole nation was in a state of panic, whether due to unavailability of masks or medicine or oxygen. Nevertheless, there were true warriors amongst us fighting from the back room. I'm sure you or someone else in your family must have come across Google Excel sheet during the pandemic or even a Discord channel which listed all the verified resources such as medicines, hospital beds, availability of oxygen, etc. Today, I'm delighted to have the person across the table who began that initiative. So let's welcome the co-founder of COVID Fighters India, founder of GirlUp Rise, a TEDx speaker, Miss Aanya Wig. Um, yeah, you are live now.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm so excited and thank you for saying all the kind things you've already said.
Yeah, like thank you very much for accepting my invitation and being here. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually, it's been a long day. I think my weekends are longer than my weekdays. But yes, it's been a busy week.
Okay, so would you like to share little bit about yourself with the audience?
Yes, absolutely. I think you've covered a lot about me. I will not take much of everybody's time and blabber more. But yes, I'm 22. I've just graduated from Lady Shriram College for Women. I did history honors, did a minor in journalism. I've worked with the Quint before. Um, I run my own organization called GirlUp Rise, where we work for gender equality. And we do that by following and focusing on three pillars. One is access to menstrual hygiene, legal advocacy, and we've been working with refugees also. I am currently interning with UNESCO. I'm also the co-founder of COVID Fighters India. Uh, I think Rakshit has already talked in depth about what we did, how we did it, so I will not go into the depth of that. But I think that's something that's very close to my heart. And I've worked with a lot of nonprofits before. I've worked with governmental agencies, and I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do next in life.
Okay, so let's begin with your schooling. You did your schooling from Delhi Public School, Noida. So
Yes.
first of all, how was Anya during her school days? And second, did you always have in mind that you wanted to bring about a change in society when you grow up?
I was always very chirpy. I still am, I think. I was more chirpy in school, which I also cannot relate to anymore. I was extremely active in extracurricular activities. I was good at studies, not exceptional, but I think I did something. Got good marks in class 12th. School was very important. I think it gave me a lot of skills. But in retrospect, I also look at my school and think there were so many things that could have been better. So many stereotypes that were sort of spread by the institution that could have changed, or I wish they change. Social work, I think it's always been very close to my heart. In school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I definitely knew that it has to be in social development. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but I knew that even in school, I knew I want to be a human rights lawyer. And if not a human rights lawyer, I think I'm now a human rights advocate. So, yes, I think that's a little about school and what I wanted to do when I was in school.
Yeah, you portray that you don't need to be a lawyer to be a fighter.
Yes. Don't know if that's a compliment, but yeah.
So do you remember your first experience of doing any kind of social work? Like, would you like to share what it was?
Uh, So I remember being a part of the Interact Club of my school, and I think that was one of the first things that I did for social work. I There was this 2 day exchange program with there was a foundation. I think it was called something related to schools and Dream Foundation, something like that. And we actually had people and children from the marginalized communities come to our school, and we spent a day with them at our school, following a normal life that we do at our school. And then we spent a day at their school doing different activities. And we realized that um, it's very different. Every school life is also very different. And I think that's when I realized that even institutions treat you so differently. And I think that's also when I realized that I don't want to be a part of tokenistic initiatives. I don't want to do it for just 2 days. I want to keep doing it. And I actually had a lot of fun. And I related to all of those kids in different ways. I mean, of course, I come from a very privileged background and I acknowledge that. But for us, things that made us happy were probably very, very similar. I mean, we loved playing, and all of us were very excited about winning. We were divided in different teams, and in school you're very naive, and I think that's when I also realized that there's I don't want difference to be between me and them because of the kind of background we come from. So yes, that was the first sort of social development initiative.
Well, that's very kind of you. And like, what was the inspiration that makes you move forward and like fight every day, and you feel that when you wake up tomorrow, you want to be a part of it, a better world. So,
Mm,
what's that spark that like in your heart that you want to do something better each and every day?
so I think people keep. So I'll tell you another question that people ask me is that who's your inspiration? Looking for one particular person, organization, initiative, and this is what I tell everyone. And this is, I think, sort of the answer that I'd like to give to this question. That I don't have one particular person who inspires me, but every person that I've had a conversation with or I've interacted with has inspired me in different ways. And what keeps me going every day is that maybe I have it in me to keep driving people to feel passionate about the issues that I feel passionate about. And just, I think, the glimmer of hope that we can make a change in society if we come together. And I've seen that from the initiatives that I've taken up. I've seen that from the initiatives that people have taken up. And just to know that there is a lot that needs to change and there's a lot that we need to learn. I think that's what inspires me. And the fact that there is inequality and injustice is, I don't think people would think that I would say that inspires me, but it really inspires me to end it. I don't want to be inspired by it. I don't want that to be a driving force. So, yeah, I think, yes, you're on mute.
Yeah, I guess my mic was on mute.
Yeah.
So on International Women's Day, your interview got featured on basically I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Al Jazeera's news channel.
Mm-hmm.
So you come across as an exceptional public speaker. Was it something that imbibed in you since day one? I mean, what all did you go through to hone your public speaking skills?
So I probably might have inherited some good public speaking skills. When I was younger, I used to do a lot of dramatics also. And the first time I was on stage was probably in preschool or nursery. And, that was the day I decided I love being on stage and I love speaking. And because it was nice, everybody sort of motivated me to continue doing that. But I was also one person who was extremely nervous. I still am, by the way. Before any interview, before any activity where I'm supposed to talk to people, I get nervous. I think that doesn't go away for anyone ever. I think the intensity reduces. But I figured out that there are ways to control it, to know what you're speaking about, to be familiar with the topic, and to understand that you don't have to be an expert at everything. And I definitely am an expert at nothing. But what matters is that you have something that you want to share. And any person who's passionate about something and has a story to share is a good public speaker. So I think that's my journey. And yeah.
I guess one of the reasons might be books you read looking at your background.
No, these books make me seem very smart, but they're actually books that I've read in my entire life. There might be few more, but I'm not that smart.
Okay, amazing. And like, how did COVID Fighters India? We can like talk about the initiative as well. So, how did COVID Fighters India begin? Like, would you walk me through the first step? Because I guess uh, anywhere to any initiative or something we do, the first step is the most important step. Because after you take a first step, then you gradually take small baby steps and make things happen. So, what was your first step? Like, did you just call a couple of friends telling them that okay, this is my idea and vision, or it's a different story altogether?
I think the first step was feeling the angst and despair that all of us were feeling. Feeling helpless sitting at home, knowing that so many people were going through so much trauma, and realizing that I had to do something and I wanted to do something. But it was actually Arnab who came up with the idea that, we should form a community, a platform where people can come together and help each other out. And he started working on Discord, which is when I reached out to him and I said that, one bigger issue that we're facing along with COVID is the rise of misinformation and the lack of resources. And we need to figure out a system how we tackle this. And that's when verification and spreadsheets and, this entire huge mass of volunteers came in. And it all started, I think, with desperation and knowing that we wanted to do something and knowing that nobody around us is doing anything. And I think everything that came after it was just a learning process. We didn't know how we are going to do it. And in fact, I didn't think, and I think we never knew properly what we were diving into. But I think along the way, did we figure out things? Of course, initially, nothing was proper. We didn't know what to do, how to do it. We improved with time, and it was, I think, one of the most chaotic and traumatic times of my life. And I think any volunteer, regardless of them working with COVID Fighters India or in general, would say the same thing. So yeah, I think that's how it started, and that's a little about what happened.
Okay, that's amazing. Like, you make it sound very simple. I don't know how, but I still remember that my whole family got COVID in, I guess, August, in not August, in April end. So fortunately, our condition was like we got healthy in a couple of days taking medicines. But since we were worried, I started like just coming across these phone numbers of people and trying to, if I could find somewhere oxygen cylinder in case it's needed. I tried 3 days, and again I was fortunate that we didn't need it. But even after trying for 2 to 3 days, like 15 or 20 numbers, I couldn't find any number. So I don't know how easy or difficult it was for you guys, because obviously I was talking for 3 days, 15 numbers, and I still couldn't find it, and you guys were like doing it not on a daily but an hourly basis.
We were doing it actually 24/7, and it was difficult. I will not lie. Um, it wasn't as if we had resources for everyone at all points of time. The problem was that there were way too many people and way too many less things. And we faced the same problems that you did too. We would call hundreds of numbers and nobody would respond, or they didn't have what we needed. And it was I mean, I can only imagine what you went through. Um, so I think one more thing that happened during the second wave is that all of us went through secondary loss that might not be ours to lose. And we went through a lot, I think, and I say that on behalf of all people who worked.
Wow, that's incredible. And like getting all those calls and texts for help, I know you must have like felt overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is a small word, I guess. And how did you manage to keep your mind at peace? Because like you were the driving force for that initiative. uh, if you would have just gone crazy, it would obviously have been impossible to help other people. So how did you keep your mind at peace, or in other words, take care of your own mental health?
I actually didn't. It was so, like I said, because we were going through secondary loss ourselves. Um, I think the point is that we never had time to process during that time. Nobody had time to step back. Nobody had time to breathe. Nobody had time to process all the loss that was happening around us. And we slowly realized that it's important, and we started figuring out a system where people can work in shifts, do what they like to do, to step outside this entire um, volunteering circle. But I wouldn't get so much time because I had to monitor everything and lead everything. uh, but I would have breakdowns too, and I will not hide away from the fact that it was extremely difficult. And I'm still sort of grappling with the realities of what happened. My mental health is still not okay, and I don't know how many months slash years it will take, not just for me, but for so many people, and especially for those who lost someone. I'm probably a lucky one in that relation. But I think I really don't have anything to say, but I think we all started doing what made us feel better. If it was watching a movie or taking a therapy session or talking to our friends, we actually used to have these meetings within our core team at night, which would go on till morning, where we would come together and talk about things not related to the pandemic. And but because nights were also the most difficult, SOS calls would come in, and we would be on this Google Meet call and solve it together. But I think it was the community that pulled us out through it, be it access to resources or be it my mental health. I think all credit goes to the people who were there with me.
Like I never thought it that way. Even when I had a talk with the psychology students, and they were like, that in India psychology isn't like much flourishing, or it can't, because a doctor can take about 10 or 20 or 100 patients a day. A psychologist can only take a 5 patients a day, because otherwise it would mess up with their own mental health. So I do understand that it's very important to like sometimes distract our minds with the help of friends or movies,
Yeah.
and do the right thing like by everyone. And you started with a group of 10 people, so that's what, like initially you and Arnab, and then it grew to 10 people, and then you had like 100 active volunteers in who were volunteering for the cause. So like how did you manage this whole team and let the whole process very smoothly without any kind of chaos, and were there any challenges like along the way?
So actually, from 100 we went to 13,000, and I think it increased after that. Um, but the entire challenge was there were way too many challenges. In fact, less than solutions and less than ways around it, there were challenges. First was figuring out how to get people to help us. Everybody was going through something, be it personally or being secondhand, and finding people was tough. But I think everybody came together because they wanted to support the cause that we were doing. The second was, figuring out how do we make different COVID initiatives come together, because there were so many across the country, and we wanted to make sure that one, initiative is handling a particular state, or we have colleges. So there was a lot of interaction happening. Every day I would talk on call, explain them what to do, get colleges on board, collaborate with websites, get applications made, bots were made. So much was done and everything. And like I said, all of this was because we figured out different problems. We had to make sure that the content was also accessible to differently abled people. It was vernacular. What if somebody's not on Twitter? What if somebody doesn't know how to access Google Sheets? There was so much more to than just volunteering. So I think that answers the part of what challenges we faced, and how we got people on board is a very simple question. We really didn't have to do a lot, then keep asking for help. And honestly, you yourself have gone through COVID, and you know what it's like. So everybody around us was either going through it or was seeing someone go through it. And I think the reason why everybody came together was because they just wanted to help. So yeah, I think. And did you have another question? I think those two were the questions there.
Yeah, like about your challenges, and how did you manage those people?
Yes. Manage. So like I said, we had WhatsApp groups, we had different team leaders. I would meet the team leaders every day. I would be on all channels. We had to have a separate team for spreadsheets, separate people. And I mean, kudos to the people who actually made those bots. I don't take credit for that. It was actually other people who made it. And yeah, I think it was a lot of time online, a lot of time on calls, but we managed.
Yeah, one thing that I really liked about your solution or initiative was that you managed to do it in the simplest way possible. Like people were making websites, people were trying to make apps, and government was also trying to come up with that.
Yeah.
You basically solved it and said that okay, this could be done in the simplest way possible. Then why do we need to complicate things? Even when in a time where like even seconds are important for us, not even minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Like,
I also think we were able to do it in a simpler way because I didn't know the harder way. I don't know how to make a website and I don't know how to make an application, but we did collaborate with them. So I think it's not more to do with a simple way. I think it's more to do with what I could manage and what everybody could manage.
and I think like when you have knowledge of each and everything, you try to find a way through those steps only. Like, being from a technological background, if someone would have told me, I would have probably thought of making an app or a website. Then I would said, okay, it's going to take 3 months or so to make it and do something. Like, we often try to find solutions through our knowledge. We think that, okay, if this needs to be done, this might be a difficult problem. We often forget that, okay, a solution to it would be really possible. The thing is that it should solve the problem. That's what matters. It doesn't matter how it looks or what. uh, each and everything comes after that. And you were like really active on social media, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
and we are in an era where people are literally spending 12 hours a day. Like, even 12 hours is less, I would like. People spend even more using Instagram or Snapchat.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have uninstalled Snapchat, so not everything we see is true on social media. And it brings to me the question that how do you manage to get your message across the table? You have to like, uh, what you have to say without being caught up in those vicious cycles. Say for example, swiping up all day on Instagram, etc. Because that happens with me. I don't know about you, but even if I'm using, say, phone for 15 minutes, I have to remind myself that, okay, I need to go and work because it's going to take a lot of my time.
So I would say you better than me. I have very bad control when it comes to social media. I am always active on social media, and I'm that active that I'm just scrolling. So I need to control that. I need to work on it. Um, but like you said, I have a very simple approach. I keep it simple and I keep it personal, or I keep it um, in a way that would reach out to the masses, but also not very complicated. You know, I don't use fancy terms. I don't use fancy graphics. I use things that are easy to understand, easy to sink in, and easy to relate with. That's number one. Number two, and like I already said, I'm very bad at keeping this divide between professional life and social media. I like to put everything out there. It has its own pros and cons. I do get a lot of hate, and I do, when you're someone who's very active on social media, and especially if you're in the social development sector, people expect you to be an advocate for everything and advocate for all sides, and as if it's our responsibilities, and if we're in a position of authority to comment on everything. So that's one big, I think, drawback of social media. But I think the good thing is that internet can only break what it made. So to counter that is also the support that I get online, or the people who are part of these initiatives, or the lives that we're able to change. But bottom line is that you're right. You didn't ask me if I'm the same as I am on my social media, but the truth is I'm not. I'm probably 50% or 65% of who I am on social media. Makes me look very smart, makes me look very, knowledgeable, very accomplished, but that's not true. I don't think I'm very smart. I actually don't know a lot about a lot of things. I'm, in my eyes at least, I'm not very accomplished. A lot of times think that there are a lot of things to do. And People also might think that I have a very cool life, but I think I'm cool in the sense that I'm able to make you see that I have a cool life, but nobody knows what happens behind the screen in terms of, be it the life that I really live, who I really am, and what I have to do to be here, or what I have to do the things that I like doing. So my struggles aren't really a part of my social media, and I think maybe, I don't know. I think I'm a hypocrite when I come to saying that, I share everything on social media. But I think, one of those people who like having a social media personality. But I think there's a lot more that happens off camera and off reels.
I think with time, that just becomes a part of you. Are like, in order to be authentic, like there are people who are same on their YouTube channels per se
Yeah.
as they are in front of everyone. So it I guess it takes a lot of time to gain that level of comfort and authenticity, especially that you're just same in front of camera and off camera.
Matlab, I'm more or less the same, I think. On camera, matlab, I'm being very honest with you. But I'm talking about things that stay. So things that stay in terms of your LinkedIn posts or your Instagram posts. A lot of me is that. It's true. It's not like I'm faking it. If I'm putting a post about working at UNESCO, I am working at UNESCO. But nobody knows how long it took me to get to work at UNESCO.